They're not going to change their identity. Under Dreier! Golazo! Goal! Dreier! Anders Dreier! Saw the opportunity.
Welcome, everyone, for a little bonus content for the official SDFC Podcast. I'm here with Marvell Wynne. I'm Sal Zizzo. And today, like I said, we're just going to give you a little bonus content. Kayla's got the week off. She works so hard. So, so Marv and I are here. So if we're all over the place, it's because Kayla's not here. So
she runs the group.
Yeah, she organizes everything. So we're here. We're going to talk a little bit about the Minnesota recap. We're going to go over what are our mid-season MVPs for this fantastic club. And then, see where it goes from there. So going off of the Minnesota game, Marv, I'll send it off to you. What did you see? What did you like? What are your thoughts?
I think the Minnesota game showed us in a light of patience. I know we're a team that likes to maintain possession, but there was possession with a purpose. And going into it, we kind of all knew how Minnesota's whole tactic was, where they would score a goal somehow one way or another and then just turtle. And they were up on us twice and we broke them down twice, which was good. I mean, it was kind of annoying to watch because you can see what they were doing so well. Like they were just like just defend, they get the ball, and then they just tried to clear it to their front two and just see what happens.
Can I just say too, I'm so happy that we don't play that style of soccer.
I'm so happy.
Like the way we play is so much fun to watch. I'd rather be a 500 team than be a, third place, second place team in the West and play that style. Because I just don't see that being like something that you can hang your hat on every single game.
Agreed.
Right? Like with SDFC, what they've done is like they've created a philosophy that can like ebb and flow against any style of play where it always looks like us, I just don't know if, that sit back, super organized, kind of rely on, the counterattacking or the speed of some players to win some games. Perfect, fine. Maybe in the playoffs, you need to play a certain style to win a game.
Sure.
But I just think over the course of a season, that style is just, I don't know.
Yeah,
it hurts my eyes sometimes.
Yeah, we can use our style against any other type of style, while at the same time we can also intermingle our players as well. As we've seen when we played against Club America and stuff, you can see our play against different teams with different personnel.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you don't have your typical forwards up top that are gonna run behind, or it's gonna be a point man, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? How are you going to kick it up? What are you going to do in terms of either maintaining possession, getting out of pressure? You have to mix things up all around.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I like the way what we do, and it's easy to see our tactics and our style and see it work. So, I mean, that's a big purpose is why we love it too.
So the first goal that's given up. So an own goal.
The bounce back though.
Yeah, it was kind of a weird bounce. I think maybe Dos Santos lifted his head maybe a little bit, and the ball was coming a lot quicker than he thought, and it just kind of got away from him a little bit.
I done that.
Yeah,
I did that in Salt Lake. Yeah,
oh, really?
I passed it back to Pickens, and he walked up high towards the top of the 18. He was pointing over this way when I passed it back, and then he just turns around and he had to run. Yeah. So I've definitely made one of those blunders as well.
How'd that feel? Because honestly,
so
I switched to defender like halfway through my career. Never had an own goal. Thank God.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've definitely had more own goals than I have goals.
But what's worse? So an own goal that's just kind of like, or
sure.
Like say you lose your man and the guy heads it in or something like that.
Whoa.
Because sometimes own goals are like not necessarily always your fault. It's kind of like, well, this happens sometimes.
I think the passing it back towards the keeper it probably feels worse because it's probably just like all you need to do is pick your head up for a half second longer and you can see where they were. The own goals, I mean, there was running back towards goals. There's a corner kick. You're trying to get up for it. Someone nicks it in front of you and knocks off your head. The last and all that stuff. I mean, it's not good at all.
So that happens, right?
Sure.
And then we get literally like the goal of the year so far, probably for SDFC, maybe in the entire MLS. I think it will be a candidate probably when it's all said and done for the league. Like, what a goal, man.
Good eye. Good eye off that bounce.
They mentioned that was that goalie's debut.
Oh.
That was like a welcome to the MLS moment right there.
Anders is going to be in his nightmares for his whole career, both of them. I mean, and not to mention like even the hit, just to hit it in from that far out, it wasn't like lobbed. I mean, He kind of
No,
he
it
knew what he was
almost
doing.
like popped up on him too, and he
No.
like volleyed it like slightly off the ground. It kind of reminds me of a story of, so we had a goalie in Portland named Aiden Brown, bigger guy, played in Colorado, I think, for a little bit. I mean, literally like a monster, dude.
No.
And he was in Colorado for a while, and he mentioned a story that they were in practice one day, and there were some new keepers out there along with him, and they were practicing, volleys against them, right? And that was when Marcelo Balboa was on the Colorado Rapids.
Oh.
And he mentioned a story that they were doing almost like volleys, but it was being tossed to them around the PK spot or something like that, right? So one of the players next to the post tosses it to Marcelo Balboa, and he does like this crazy bike and like hits it in the goal. But it wasn't like crazy because it was like kind of just thrown to him that way. Like he had done like multiple, right? And
Yeah,
then he
Marcelo
finally
loves his
scores
bikes.
one. Yeah, he loves his bike. He finally scores one, and he like goes to all the young keeper, and he's like, "Welcome to the MLS."
No.
But anyways, that's what reminded me, is because like he gets scored on a goal like that, and it's like, damn, that's your first game, and to get that have that happen to you, like. And what's crazy, right? So the own goal goes in. He hits that volley. Like, what a response! Literally, like
Immediately.
2 minutes after, like that's such a key goal. Yeah,
Maybe
that
he
was
maybe he was feeling it coming off international duty. He felt like his touch was on. He saw just a slight little opening window, and he just went for it.
Yeah, I think we need to ask him about that, because sometimes, as an attacking player throughout a game, you notice little things, right? Like, oh wow, he's pretty high off his line, right? And then you kind of bank it away in your head. Okay, then you play for another 10 more minutes, and maybe you give it another peek. Okay, I saw it again. Or maybe it comes from a coach who says like, hey, you have that ability in you. Hey, he's playing off his line, just so you know. Right?
But again, a new keeper, how would we know?
No, I'm saying like maybe he saw him throughout the game, like getting high, assistant coaches might pay attention to that stuff more than yourself in the game. So, but yeah, because it almost looked as if like he may have peaked, but it didn't look like he peaked when the ball was coming to him or even when he took the touch. It was like his head was already down. He took the touch, bang. Like pretty impressive, man. So, yeah, that was a wild goal. Obviously then go down 2-1 into half.
Sure.
Team being resilient, coming back. But I did want to bring up something to you, because I did notice a few good movements from the players that I noticed. We've talked highly on Bombino and how well he's done, especially as an 18-year-old. But what I was really impressed with some of his movement was when Mighton was floating all the way wide on the left, he was making this darting run inside between the center backs and the right back.
Got a good
as
chance.
a right back, and you played a right back as well. How annoying would that be?
I don't like those runs. To defend against those runs are really, because you have to have like tip-top communication from almost like your mid all the way to your center back, and then you in coordination, hoping that they don't also have another player. It's just difficult to defend.
Well, because there's a speedy winger out wide, right? You're a right back. You're kind of like, all right, let me just lock down this guy, and I've done my job, right? And now you got like a 18-year-old pesty little left back running up and down the entire game, and he just darts in between you guys and almost scored a goal. And not only just scoring that goal, he was just dangerous, making those runs all the time. And what a better player than to take the touch to his left, Anders Dreyer, just take off.
Sure.
Every time he was taking a touch to his left foot, it was like, boom, he was
Now
running.
you got to worry about it. That's where you have if you have a dangerous left foot and someone's on the pitch like that, which, I mean, Honor's position, he was all over the pitch.
He was
everywhere. He was not staying outside or anything.
That's when I think he's at his best, though, in my opinion.
All of it. He was,
when he can
to
just
me, it was
float,
deadly.
When he can flow, because he likes to come deep sometimes. He likes to go in the middle. Obviously he can be a playmaker in the middle, but he's at his most dangerous moments when he's isolated on the left. He gets the ball, and then he can cut back to his left foot.
Yeah, certain players only have an eye for goal. Honor's can assist.
Yeah.
He can spray the balls out, and he's done it numerous times, and he showed it. I mean, obviously his goal to Chucky. I mean, against Galaxy and all that stuff.
And that's almost another great ball, to Ilowski for the third goal. You know what I mean? Like, it's always that cutback in the whip, whether it's on frame for a shot, whether it's a cross, whether it's a through ball, whatever it is, right? That just makes him so dangerous. So he's so hard to stop because he floats everywhere. It's almost like, I'm not going to say he's Messi, but like plays in a similar way to Messi, where he floats around and he's very dominant on his left foot, and Messi can set up goals. He could score goals with his left, and Messi light.
Yeah, messy
Great
leg.
player.
And when you're defending against someone like that, that's what's so dangerous. So he's kind of quick, so he can go by you, so you wouldn't give him space. We also know that if he cuts back at all and you give him any room, he can whip it in quick with his left. So you're stuck in between two places of trying to give him space and respect, but at the same time, you want to be uptight on him to make sure that he doesn't get that space to do anything that he wants with the ball, because he'll just pass and move or just get a nice cross in.
Yeah. And then the other part I want to bring up too is like eight. I think it was 8 guys on break, maybe on international break
For us?
Yeah, for us, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible. Like to go on the road in Minnesota, tough environment, a team that's
Real
playing
tough.
well, to get a win 4-2, and how key that is before a few weeks off. Like what a good feeling they must feel, in the locker room coming home from that, and now probably getting some time off, to get well rested, especially guys like Anders Dreyer, who's, just came back from international duty to then start again. And to shuffle in all these players is...
Yeah, that's actually a question that I have for you then. So do you think they went in as an underdog? Do you think they were supposed to lose this game? All right, so do you think we're that type of team? It's like, if we go in as an underdog, there's either less pressure on us, or we just going to go into every game thinking the exact same, whether the favorites, underdogs, or what have you? Because when we went out there, granted, we both played into each other's strengths. Yeah, they went up, whatever, and they just bunkered down. They're used to not having the ball in terms of Minnesota, and we're used to having the ball.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like
I just think, going into it, all the, statistics and the stats and this and that can point to us being underdogs. But for sure, right? Like we've all been on a team where internally, you have a lot more belief than probably what, the odds say that you probably should have. But at the end of the day, like going into it from an outsider, you're missing 8 players. You're missing 2 center mids. You're missing Chucky Lozano, who's injured. Like along with some other pieces, McNair, your starting center back. You're missing all these pieces on the road against a team that's, second, third place in the West. Yeah,
we were tied.
You should be an underdog, but none of that mattered to them, right? They just came in, they stayed playing. They went down, came back. They went down again, came back.
It's so tough to do on the road.
Oh my gosh.
Oy.
Yeah. So credit to them. We've always said this from the start, is they're passing every single test. We're around the midway point, and it's like incredible what they've done. I heard them talking about this on the broadcast, actually, and I completely agreed with it, where they said, when St. Louis went through an expansion year, I think they won the West their first year, right? Did they even win Supporter Shield, maybe?
Not sure.
Okay. Well, they were at the top of the West for sure. I know that. And they mentioned that as much as their style of play was like in your face, pressing, win the ball, it's not as sustainable as like, SDFC's, right?
Sure.
SDFC is much more methodical. They can kind of ebb and flow against certain teams, right? If you just have this mentality, you're going to press every single moment of every single game, and that's your identity, right? Then at times you could get beat in that, right? By whatever. But SDFC, it's like we've seen them go and counter press and do well and keep possession, and that's their base. But they can also like win the game in different ways in attacking certain people. So that's been really cool. Mike Uvares has got to be in the talk for Coach of the Year. Especially at the midway point, right?
Yeah, he's implementing a really good design that is absolutely showing results. And again, listening to other broadcasts, when you listen to the broadcasters, they're like, okay, well, this team has scored this goal against them, so maybe that's the way to break them down. Like they're talking about us as if we're the team to beat, we're the style, we're the organization that has been the most difficult and the one that's just most difficult to penetrate. Yeah. And as a first-year team, that means a lot. And also talking to you about how St. Louis was all in your face and the pressure and all that stuff, that also wears and tears at the body.
Yeah.
Playing 90 minutes is tough.
Fell short in playoffs, maybe.
Exactly.
And
playing 90 minutes is tough no matter what. Soccer is a very difficult sport to play. But the way that you play is having certain triggers. Like you're calm and relaxed, quick, fast, or slow, wait, there you go. And then also knowing if a ball comes here and it goes to a certain player, you have an idea of where they're going next, so you don't have to waste energy. I'm thinking about us against Kansas City. They were the team that I was used to playing against. It was just, run, pass, run, maybe shoot, pass, run. It was just kind of chaotic.
A lot of different turnovers, a lot of it. Yeah.
Then you just get it back and you keep going. There wasn't a lot of method to the madness, but it was effective.
Yeah.
But now against a team like this, a team like us, I should say, then it can only go so far.
Right, say, like you said, energy-wise, right? Like if you have that much possession, like you're going to be able to counter-press because you have your legs still in you. Right?
Playing in the game with 90 minutes when you have 70% possession is much easier than playing a game when you have only 30% possession.
Yeah. And then obviously Ilowski coming in and scoring those 2 goals. Very impressive third goal or second goal of the match. He turned on the afterburners in that one.
There you go.
I think Marvell Wynne is probably catching him. Diaz looked a little gassed. I watched it back a few times, and I'm like, how did Diaz not catch him here?
Like,
and he was just chasing. He was like chasing ghosts. He was like about to fall
Isn't it great
over.
to see those goals, though? You miss them, right?
What a goal. But
Coming from inside your own half?
He's such a good finisher. Like
smart.
When he gets the opportunity, he's confident right now. It doesn't matter if he starts or comes off the bench. He's scoring against Club America. He's scoring in this one. He's scoring off the bench earlier this season, scoring big goals. So
he's tied with Chucky now, 5.
Yeah, I saw that.
Isn't that nice?
And probably, I think all bench appearances too for MLS.
Really?
So
you got to go minute for minute. This man's got to be up there in terms of goals per minute.
Yeah, goals per 90 for sure. So going in, just tying a bow on Minnesota, it was a great win on the road.
Good character building.
Yeah, especially in the standings too, pushes them up.
Oh yeah.
To second place, I believe, just
solid by us.
A few points behind Vancouver, who is actually our next match in Vancouver, which I'm excited to watch because, like you mentioned, we'll probably be underdogs again on the road, which is right where SDFC likes to be.
Bring it.
Yeah, bring it. So I wanted to talk a little bit about, now that we're at the halfway point, right? I want to talk a little bit about who's, maybe our top 2 most valuable players for SDFC. And it can be kind of a, doesn't have to be like this is the best player, but who has kind of been that X factor that has been able to outperform maybe what people's opinion were coming into this year, or really helped elevate them to where they are now.
All right, so I think one of the more obvious ones would be Anders in terms of getting points on the board. He's just involved in so many of our goal opportunities and all that stuff. But I wanted, as a defender, I want to go to the back. I really do think CJ has been a big part of our style of play. Being able to use him as a keeper to distribute the ball offensively, draw players in, and then pass it out and around. I really do think that's been very important. And then directly in front of him, I have to say Yeppy. So if you're gonna make me choose 2, I'd probably go Yeppy and Anders.
Okay.
In terms of my MVPs of the first half of the season. How about you?
Yeppe and Anders.
Yeah.
And CJ, an honorable mention.
An honorable mention to CJ because the shutouts that he's had, obviously the saves that he's produced, and like I said, being a wall back there in terms of defense and a vital way to pull players to him and break them apart in terms of his offensive play with his feet.
Okay. So I'm going with you on 1 for sure. I'm going away from the defensive half, which has been solid for sure. But I think overall, if you just look at who the team MVP is so far, I would say Anders, because what he's been able to do almost from like an Iron Man standpoint too. He played, there was a moment where he played almost every minute of every game in the first, I think it was 10 matches. And then he's kind of maybe took a little bit of a break, but he started, I think, every single game, right? Chuki's been through some injuries. There's been a lot of rotations. Invartson's been hurt at times. Obviously, Milan's come in and done a great job. So a lot of shuffling in the middle at times. The back line, obviously, you can say McVeigh, McNair have been there and stable. But Anders has been that centerpiece that's always been there, right? And I already talked about the ability he has on the ball, floating around. Wonderful left foot, scoring a lot of goals. So he would be my number 1 MVP. And then that other part, that X factor that I think has really helped them a lot is Ilowski. I think because you add, Invartson goes down, Chuki's been hurt, Mighton was even hurt for a little bit with his shoulder. All these guys have kind of bounced around, right? And no one really expected him to come here, even at the start of the season, right? The loan happens, and I'm sure expectations were, maybe he can come in and kind of fill a void for Invartson until he comes back. And now it's like, I can't imagine where this team would be without him and then moving forward. You know what I mean? And so they got to figure out a piece to keep him here. I'd love to hear the conversations going on, but they need to keep him here because he's that piece, that element that you can throw in a game and it gives everyone around you a lift. When you got a guy scoring that many goals that often, that comes into a game, if you're a right back, Marv, and I probably had, and a guy is getting subbed in who's just that hot.
No.
I mean, it's just it's a great feeling. It gives that entire team belief that you're going to score. And that very well could have been what happened, in the second half of that Minnesota game when you go into it down 2-1 and you end up 4-2. So, just in my opinion, he's that extra, little X factor that's given them that extra little bit that they need to get over that edge to be where they are right now.
Yeah, he scored some pretty crucial goals. So pretty much every time he comes in, he makes an impact of some sort. And having him come in the 80th minute or so when we're tied, we're down or whatever, it's going to put you back on your heels because you know what he's about. You know if he gets any time on the ball, and he's quick, he's smart on the ball, he can pass the ball as well. It's not just having an eye for goal, but I mean, if he gets an opportunity, he might punish you, and then you got to be more nervous. You got to start pressing a little bit higher. It's kind of a disaster. He's filling up that super sub role.
Yeah. Well, there you have it. Those are our two quote unquote MVPs this year for SDFC. Thank you guys. As the official specialty insurance partner of San Diego FC, Palomar offers standalone earthquake insurance that protects property and peace of mind. It's crucial to be prepared. Visit plmr.com or contact your insurance agent for a quote. Palomar, reimagining specialty insurance with innovative, creative solutions.
Hey everybody, this is Darren Smith. I host a radio show called SDFC Midweek Live. You can hear it Wednesday nights, 6 o'clock on San Diego Sports 760 and anytime on the iHeartRadio app. Join me, Adrian Garcia Marquez, Warren Barton, SDFC players and staff. It's the only hour on local radio dedicated 100% to San Diego Football Club and the beautiful game.
Welcome back to the official SDFC podcast. So far for our bonus little episode we got here. So we're going to try something different right now. We are going to, we've always had a chance to interview players for this club, which has been amazing to hear their stories. So now we're going to switch it up on you guys a little bit. I'm going to interview Marv. We're going to hear his background, and then vice versa. He's going to interview me. We both grew up in San Diego, so I think we both have pretty interesting backgrounds, and we'll get into that now. So Marvell, I want to ask you, where did it all start for you?
It all started for me in Poway out here in California. I went to the North County Soccer Park where
you and Blink 182.
Me and Blink, Blink went to Poway High, like one or two of them at least.
Yeah.
But I went to the North County Soccer Park to watch my friend Jeff play his first indoor soccer game or whatever, and they were down a man. Oh. So my mom volunteered me to play.
Were you younger?
I was 3.
Oh, yeah, 3.
I was 3 years old.
I need to get my son in it.
Yeah, so they're like, all right, Marv, you want to play? I'm like, I don't want to. And then, they just shot me out there. Yeah. And then there you go, my first team.
Do you remember that a little bit?
Part of the Bananas, man.
The Bananas?
We were the Bananas.
The Savannah Bananas took your team name.
Yo, we had those dance moves. That'd be awesome.
Oh, that's cool.
I was one of the younger ones, but I always ran around a lot. So I mean, it was just perfect. I blew off some steam and all that stuff because.
So that was indoor.
That was indoor.
Okay.
Little indoor, and of course, in little indoor, we all want to say we were the first ones to create the 3-goal rule.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. I mean, we're all gonna say that once we were indoor, and then after that, I just kept playing whenever any club came along. So it was. I couldn't even tell you my rec team names, but then when you finally got competitive, it was RB Select. I never played for the Vaqueros, surprisingly.
Okay.
It was RB Select, then I went to RB Select, then the Hornets before they came Pegasus.
Okay.
And then Surf, and then Hotspurs.
Okay. Nice. And then, so from there, when did you feel, at what age did you feel like, okay, this is now something that, because it never goes from like you just playing for fun to like, I'm going to play pro one day. You always kind of dreamt it. But like, where did you feel like, okay, this is now within the reach, or like, yeah, I think like college soccer now. And then obviously once you achieve college soccer, then it goes past that. But like, where did you say to yourself, okay, I want to take this game, or this seems likely that I'm going to play at the next level?
Maybe all the way till 17, 18.
Really?
Yeah, because that was the first time I actually made regionals for ODP.
Okay.
Yeah, so I did ODP for a while. And it was always
for those of the people that don't know ODP, because it's kind of come and gone, and it's a lot different now with the format. But back in the day, I like saying back in the day when now, but back in the day, if you were a top player in your region across the country, you would play in ODP, which stands for Olympic Development Program. And that shuffled, the SoCal, then versus NorCal and Nevada, and all that was made up of that region. And then you'd make a regional team. You'd go to a camp. The all-star team would get chosen from those, selected states. And then you would play against other regions. And from there, the national team would pretty much scout you and call you in.
Yeah, so, we were Region 4.
Yeah,
so
we were Region 4, West Coast.
Yeah. So true. So actually when I was, I think 15 or 16 is when Kevin Esparza used to coach for the Chivas
Kevin
USA.
Esparza, Chivas USA, my old team manager at Chivas USA.
There you go. He was actually our ODP coach, and he was the one that wondered if I wanted to go play defense. So he was actually the first time I went to go play defense. Before that, I was
What did you play?
Fast forward.
Oh, okay.
I was always up top. I was always a forward. I was doing things.
Just a lethal finisher or what?
Psych.
You would just dribble into the goal.
I would just run straight. Then all of a sudden there were bigger guys that would just stop me from running.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't play anymore. So he's like, all right, let's try you out at defense. And then I was so used to being a forward that when he actually put me back in defense, I was actually get the ball, wait for a forward to press me. So I'd actually have pressure, then I'd spin him, and then I'd go.
Okay.
So for the longest time. So that made him nervous.
Were you always aggressive and fast? Because for those that don't know Marvell Wynne, his profile was like a beast, dude. Like so strong,
Quick,
so fast, could jump out of the air. Arguably one of the most athletic players to ever come out of U.S. soccer. That's
Thank you.
I would say that, yeah.
So I was pretty skinny until I actually reached high school. Then I did freshman PE.
Like Moadu. Dude, Moadu.
I didn't want to. How you gonna call him
We grew
out
up
like
playing
that?
against Moadu.
He was
tiny.
He was small.
He was skinny.
Moadu was skinny. He was a skinny boy.
And then he went to Maryland.
Yep.
And I remember seeing him after one of our games at UCLA. And he's like, "Oh, Sal, what's up?" And he came to me after the game. I think he didn't suit up that game. And I was like, "Whoa."
Yeah, he got big.
What are they giving you at Maryland, dude? He hit the weight. I think he started training with the football team or something.
Yeah.
But he got massive.
I remember him telling me actually, because we were teammates in Toronto. I remember him telling me that straight up he was just
lifting, huh?
Yeah, he would just lift. It was fun to do.
Something I never did. So.
So I got bigger in high school, lifting with the football players, and they started showing me how to lift because I didn't know what I was doing.
Okay.
So of course, the very first time I lift, I maxed out as much as possible.
Yeah, your arms.
My arms would not go past a 90-degree angle for about 2 weeks. I go like that, and they just shoot back up. It was awful. And then I just started going from there because I was a defender, and a lot of forwards were bigger than me. So I just had to learn how to get my sturdy base. But I would say going back to the answer your question, I would say about 18 or so, right before I went to college, is when I actually thought that I could potentially go pro.
Okay. And what other colleges were you looking at? I mean, obviously you ended up at UCLA, like myself, but what did you go on any official visits anywhere else?
I did. I went to San Jose State.
Okay.
I went to
Random. Go on.
I went to Berkeley.
Okay.
And New Mexico.
All right.
Yeah. San Jose State, Berkeley, and New Mexico.
And what was it about UCLA that set it apart?
Well, I think Brandon Owens was there. Trini Gomez were there. Players that I'd played with, even on Hotspurs, our very last year, they just came down for some guest players and all that stuff. So I knew them. It was kind of local. And one of my good friends, he ended up being my roommate. Eric Connor was planning on going there, and we just had a good time. We hung out there, so that really got us. And the recruitment trip was on Halloween weekend, and it just seemed like fun. Seemed like a good time all around. So that's what kind of sold me. And then it was Tom Fitzgerald, the coach actually prior to Jorge Salcedo, that had recruited me. But he had decided that he wanted to go to Florida, be with his family and all that stuff. But Jorge made sure to come through and be like, we really want you on our team and all that stuff. So, it just kind of sold me. It was kind of local. Mom wanted me to go to college, but not too far. So they kind of just it just kind of fit pretty perfect.
It was the right fit.
Yeah.
Perfect. So then, I kind of know your story, but I'm going to lead you into it. So then you have a great freshman year at UCLA, and you get called into the U20s with who was the coach at the time? Ziggy Schmidt, ex-UCLA guy, rest in peace. So he sees you because he used to come to watch all the games. So there was quite a few UCLA guys on that squad. But he calls you in. You go to a few camps. Was that your first time with the national team?
First time with the national team. And I actually do credit my entire career to Ziggy Schmidt.
Okay.
So how I perceived it was that they were going to have a camp in LA. Ziggy's a UCLA guy, so he sees us. I'm not quite sure if he, was calling me in based on my play thus far, or was it just, we need to fill in some spots while these European guys are still in league and all that stuff. But at the time, he brought in me, Pat Ayani, and Pat Ayani and Benny Fellhaber.
Yeah.
Were the ones that go into the camp. And when we went in there, we ended up performing pretty well. So then we ended up coming back again, and again and again. So then we kind of like solidified our spots.
This was
there.
also the time where college kids were actually on the U20 team. Now it's like literally entirely made up by professional players. But go on.
Yeah, and we actually performed pretty well. And then after that, we made the U20 squad.
Yeah.
So
as starters.
As
all of you?
starters. Yeah, we went to UCLA for the fall, the winter, and then that spring was the U20 camp in Enschede in the Netherlands. And, we performed pretty well. Our first game was against Argentina. We beat Messi. Across the ball to Chad Barrett. So another UCLA guy.
Messi came in at half, correct?
Messi came in at half, and he was.
He was the real deal.
We knew then. Yeah,
Yeah.
he ended up like missing a sitter, and scuffed one other one. So we barely won 1-0, and then we.
It's funny. I remember going to a U18 camp right after that tournament. Right, it was like Lee Nguyen, Charlie Davies, and stuff. And at the camp, we were all playing FIFA in one of the rooms, and they all kept subbing in this guy Messi. And I didn't know who he was. I didn't watch a ton of soccer growing up, and he definitely wasn't a household name. I think he was like still on Barcelona, but not really playing yet. So they were always subbing him in. He was like 78 overall. You'll never see that in another FIFA, but he was like 78 overall getting subbed in. They're like, Messi's the best. He's the best. And I'm like, huh. And I just kind of banked that name. And I remember that was the first time I heard it. And since then, it just went to the moon. So, yeah.
For a good reason. He was good back then. They were kind of hiding him, but then, they ended up winning the whole tournament.
Yeah, they did.
It was like them in Nigeria.
Didn't he win
the final.
like the Golden Ball too in that tournament?
I'm sure he did.
Yeah.
I mean, it was Messi. Yeah, that tournament, we beat Argentina. We tied Germany. And then we lost to Italy, I think.
Oh, okay.
And then we ended up not going through. But after that, I got some calls from Hamburg, from Monaco, a couple teams in Germany, as well as the Netherlands. And I decided, I don't think I was ready. So then I decided to go back to UCLA for another year.
So why did you feel like you weren't ready? Because most kids or most, people would have just chomped at the bit. Said, let me get to Europe.
Sure.
I'm sure they were throwing good money at you. Why did you say, hey, let me go to UCLA again?
I suppose I didn't really have a lot of confidence overall, and I don't think I ever got it.
So throughout your career, that was probably the one thing that you would say maybe held you back the most was your confidence? Or
yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If anything, my confidence definitely held me back. I mean, it's one of those, if I had a good game but we lost, I didn't have a good day.
Okay.
If I had a bad game and we won, I didn't have a good day.
Okay.
If we won and I played well, and I think I played well, then I had a good day, and those were few and far between. Like, it just wasn't going to happen. So
it's like one of those things where like you read 100 comments and there can be 99 good comments, but one bad one, and you're going to fixate on that one bad one.
He doesn't have a left foot. I'm just in the corner crying.
Those are the early days of Twitter too. Where
Early
like
ones.
No one really knew the effects of social
soccer.com
media.
or whatever it was.
Big soccer.
Big soccer.
There
That's the
we go.
one. You remember?
Oh, I remember.
Yeah. So anyway, I went back to UCLA for a bit. Back in our day, it was the Pac-10.
Yeah.
We did win the Pac-10.
And Pac-6 probably at the time too.
Oh yeah, it wasn't even 10.
There wasn't even 10.
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, SDSU I think came in that year.
Yeah.
But yeah. So after that, just that's when I got the opportunity to get drafted, and went number 1 overall.
Did
And
you
then my
kind
career
of
started.
know going in, like if you had come back for your sophomore year, that you were probably slated to go number 1 overall? Like, were there talks with the MLS like, hey, this is what's going to happen? Because I know Pat stayed as well, and a lot of U20 guys were all kind of taken in that same draft.
Sure.
I remember. Was that kind of in your head, or were you just like, okay, I'll probably be a top 5 pick or something like that?
I didn't even consider it.
Really?
I didn't know where I was going to be picked or where I was going to be ranked. I was Generation Adidas.
Yeah.
And that was...
Which all underclassmen were.
Yeah, I think that was the first year after P40.
Yeah.
Because before
Which
it
is a
was
good
P40,
thing.
which was Nike. And then it became Generation Adidas. And I was going to go Generation Adidas, and I don't know where I was supposed to be ranked. From what I heard, I was supposed to go kind of high, but when I was getting drafted, Bob Bradley was supposed to be the first pick to Chivas USA.
Mhm.
But like while we're waiting,
Which would have been nice.
which would have been nice,
In
and
LA,
stay local.
yeah.
But last second, Moadu trades someone over to Chivas USA and in order for the first overall pick. So then Mo Johnston drafts me to the New York, New Jersey Metro Stars at the time. And that's how I got the number 1. So I don't know if Bob Bradley would have taken me number 1 overall, maybe not. But I mean, after that, that took me over to Jersey for a year.
I see. So you have a good rookie year. You end up having a long tenured career. Colorado, San Jose, obviously New Jersey, Metro, Toronto for a little bit.
Olympics 2008.
Yeah, Olympics 2008. There you go. I was part of that to help qualify, but I didn't make the final roster. Peter Novak,
yeah.
Crazy guy.
Man, at the Olympics, he wouldn't let us stay in the village because he thought it was too big of a distraction.
Yeah.
So before our final
That's
game,
like supposed to be the most fun part of even
that's
going
what I'm
to the
saying.
Olympics. Yeah.
So like before our final game, like our last game of the bracket play, we're supposed to be in the village. He moves us out into a hotel. So the night before, we're moving to a hotel, staying there, and then we go out and play. Was it Nigeria?
Netherlands, maybe?
No, not Netherlands. We tied because
you guys tied.
Don't tell Sasha, but
Yeah.
like their main guy hit a free kick. Sasha jumped, it went right under him, and ended up tying. But it might have been Nigeria because Freddie Adu had a red card. Michael Bradley had a red card.
Oh, I think you're right.
Then
I think I remember.
And
that.
then we ended up losing 2-0.
Yeah.
So it was a bummer.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, good
was
experience for you.
Oh yeah, it was in Beijing. We got to go to the opening ceremonies. Man, it was hot. For the longest time.
I still see pictures of you guys in your polo outfits.
Yeah,
just sweating, just drenched.
There was no hiding.
I have a picture of Stu Holden and Dax just like drenched in there, in their white polos. So you ended up having a great career. Was there ever a moment throughout your career where you could have still had gone to Europe at that time?
Yeah, who was looking at me up until maybe 4 years in was Anderlecht.
Oh, okay.
Over in Belgium. So that would have been.
You would have ended up going with Sasha then, probably somewhere around that time.
We would have been there around the same time. They were kind of chopping at the bit for a little bit, but I started to feel like I was getting my footing. I started to understand the league a little bit. Okay. And then you get traded, and then this happens, and then you get traded. So I suppose that confidence side of me, it would have been a great experience, and I wish I would have. At times, I wish I would have gone over, but I can't complain with the career I had out here in them.
Okay. And then, how old were you when you ended up retiring medically?
30.
30.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
do you want to talk about how that came about?
Sure. So in 2017, I actually just signed a new 2-year deal. I was with San Jose. I got traded to San Jose in 2015 from the Rapids. There for 2016. Then 2017 comes up, new 2-year deal. Going to an entrance physical, and they're like, your EKG came back a little funny. Let's take you for some extra screening. So it was me and 2 other guys. And then after that, they're like, there's a little bit of dilation where your aorta is and the aortic root. So, we're going to take you to get much more screening. So I get like a CT scan. I did a
heart MRI.
MRI. I did all the things. And like, well, your aortic root where your aorta meets your heart valve is just a little dilated. And they're kind of making it sound like, or what they told me was it's kind of like a water balloon. The bigger it gets, the thinner the material, and then one day just boom.
Yeah.
So you can definitely live, a normal life, but you're gonna have to moderated workout regimen. You can't have your heart rate go too high. We'll put you on beta blockers.
Okay.
But we're not comfortable allowing you to play. We'll say right now, the odds of you going out and just having a dissection on the field, maybe around 1%. Oh. And that's just too high for us.
That's too high.
How many times we train.
I wouldn't put my life for 1%.
Yeah, exactly. So we can do surgery. We've done it on fighter pilots. We've done it on we've done it on NBA athletes. We've done it on Marines. We've done it on all this stuff.
And have they all come back to play?
They've all come back.
Okay.
So they claim that Dr. Craig Miller up there at Stanford, they were all saying, we can do this, we got you. So honestly, in my mind, it was just kind of like having another injury. Yeah. I was like, let's do this.
Like an ACL or whatever.
Yeah. I was like, fine, let's go. So we do it. Once the surgery was done, I was in the hospital for I think 6 days. And then on the 7th day, I was back in the locker room walking on a treadmill, trying to get my heart rate up.
Yeah.
So for about 3 months, I was recovering on a treadmill. I couldn't lift anything over 25 pounds because of my chest.
The stitches or?
So the actual surgery on my heart, completely fixed, repaired, ready to go, no problem. but they have to open up my chest.
So you don't
that
have
whole
nothing to
procedure
stretch
was
it
nuts.
out, right?
That whole procedure was nuts.
Yeah, I can't
so I
imagine
actually
that.
needed my chest cavity to heal. So it was the bone
Yeah.
getting back together. And then I would say, so 6 months after my surgery, all of a sudden I get a call from my agent and he says, MLS is going to stop paying you. I said, but I signed a new 2-year deal. We call them up and they say, well, yeah, but you're not playing. We're not going to pay you if you're not playing. I'm like, but you said you know, whatever. So then I'm like, all right, well, who do you have to talk to? So of course, my cardiologist, my surgeon said I'm fine. Their MLS's cardiologist says, well, I'm a little worried where the organic tissue and artificial material meet. It looks like there's a little bit of swelling. So then I went to, I think Boston to go see a cardiologist, and then I went to Mayo Clinic in Minnesota for the final result for the absolute final result. And they had 6 cardiologists put my information in front of them anonymously, saying, "Is this 30-year-old African American male at or below the average risk of an injury?"
Whatever. Yeah.
Whatever.
Heart
And they just said no.
Okay.
So then that's when MLS just cut me off. Is around October.
Wow.
Bad times. Yeah, for about 4 months. I didn't, when they say, football is life, thanks to Ted Lasso.
Well, for it to like get taken from you when you're not expecting it, that's the hard part.
It was rough because I didn't realize it. Cause when I would go to bed at night, I didn't know that I would think about
your last game or whatever.
Yep, I was thinking about my last training, what can I improve on, what I'm going to do tomorrow, and think about the game in the future. What am I going to eat? How am I going to prepare?
Yeah.
So when I would try to go to bed, it would just be black. Like there was nothing to think about. So
That sucks.
yeah. So I would try to go to bed, and I would, but then maybe an hour later I'd wake up and it just drenching sweat.
Yeah.
And then also my medication for my chest, certain times when I got home would be wearing off. So I'd have to wake up every 3.5 hours because it wore off every 4 hours. So I had to wake up, take it, and then wait for it to go back to sleep. But everything ended up working out in the end. MLS and I did kind of a deal where I would have to do a podcast or work for a certain team in some capacity for the next 2 years. They'll help me out a little bit. Wouldn't be my full contract, but they help me out. And then
get you in the media a little bit.
There you go.
Springboard all this.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, a little bit. So now
now you do the SDFC podcast.
Now I'm part of the SDFC podcast with one of my childhood friends.
Awesome.
Who I would love to interview now, if I may.
All right. Let's do it.
Sal Zizzo.
Yeah.
All right. So we've had this conversation for, a couple of times, a little bit, but can you please tell us how you got your way to UCLA, and also what are your thoughts on multi-sport athletes?
Oh yeah, multi-sport. So I grew up from 5 years old, pretty much played baseball and soccer my whole time, right? Played locally for Crusaders Rec, which is kind of like the rec club in our area. I grew up in San Carlos, San Diego, by Petra County High School. And started off playing rec soccer, Little League. And then when I was probably later actually, when I was like 11 years old, was like my buddy who played, who ended up being one of my best friends, said, "Hey, why don't you, you're a good little rec player. Why don't you try out for our, competitive team, Spirit or Crusaders, CSC."
Which sport came first, baseball or soccer?
Both about the same time.
All right.
Still was playing Little League at the time. So then hopped into competitive play. It was kind of my first year experience. And then when I was, 11, 12, 13, started kind of like taking off a little bit. After a few years on Crusaders, I left and went to Hotspurs. I was kind of looking for a little bit more of a challenge. My dad was like, "Yeah, the team's good, but is there something a little bit better that we can get you challenged by?" So I said, "Okay." So the next kind of closest club was, El Cajon Hotspurs at the time. So when I was about 13 years old, went over there. And then from the moment pretty much I got there, it just kind of like, it happened because, when the older you get, like, 3 years will pass and it's like your same life.
Yeah.
But when you're young, it's like 3 years happen and you go from like where you were to like there in 3 years. And it's like, whoa, like I could say, I was playing against Point Loma High School And then 2 years later, I was playing in the Bundesliga. It's like those two different things. It's like kind of wild to think about. But so I played at Hotspurs till I graduated high school. When I played, varsity baseball 4 years. My junior year, I hit 581, had like 22 steals. Led off for the team. We lost, in the playoffs every year. When the finals my sophomore year, but played baseball. Like was arguably a better, like bigger fan of baseball, but I liked playing soccer more. If that makes sense.
Yeah, of course.
Because of what was on TV. I liked the Padres. MLS was kind of just getting started.
Still have to dribble up PKs after games.
Exactly. So. And then, I kind of just got pushed in one direction where when I was 16, so after my freshman year of high school, like Marv had mentioned, I started getting called into ODP, Olympic Development Program for the SoCal. My first year to regionals, I was actually on the B team for that. Was on the B team, made the regionals from the B team because SoCal was the only region that was allowed to bring a B team because more often than not, SoCal's B team was better than still everybody else.
Was there a United squad?
There was a United squad.
I was on United one year.
Were you?
Yeah.
Yeah. United was like the best players that were left off. Oh, really?
I was on United with Sasha.
But like, for example, the B team was, better still than like Nevada. And like, I think our B team might have lost in the finals to our A team or something like that. So
what?
Yeah. Like SoCal was the best in Region 4. So, so did that, made the regional team, but didn't get called into any tournaments, but like made the pool. Next year, go back to the same thing and was more like, I was on the A team and like more of like the leader of that team, scoring goals and stuff. Then got called into the regional team and went to Orlando on a few tournaments, scored some goals there.
What position were you on these teams?
I was always like a right mid, right wing.
Okay.
So we would always play like the 4-4-2, so I'd play right mid.
So you prefer the right, but you were never just straight up top.
A little bit during club. I would kind of, float between the two,
Okay.
And then, my senior year finally started kind of like breaking into some of the youth national teams. Ended up getting, the scholarship with UCLA, but I was getting called into like some of the U18 camps in, Northern Ireland Milk Cup and some cool friendlies against like Spain and Portugal my senior year. And then, but was still like kind of like a role player on those teams. Didn't really like start necessarily. But I do remember right before coming to UCLA, I was already committed. Our U18s, we scrimmaged. I think it was University of Virginia. Who was good college at the time. Yeah. So we scrimmaged the University of Virginia and we ended up winning like 2-1 and I scored both goals for the U18s. Like a header and I was playing forward. And so that was right before I came to UCLA. And so like in my head, I'm like, all right, like I'm already scoring against college teams.
So did you play against Mo?
Who?
Play against West Virginia, you said?
No.
Oh, Maryland.
No.
Maryland, my bad.
Mo was Maryland. Virginia. University of
Gotcha,
Virginia.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Like the old Bruce Arenas. Legendary college
Mm-hmm.
over there. But they still had a really good team anyways. Do well there. That was just kind of like a confidence thing I felt like going into UCLA. But, I went to Berkeley as well. I did a trip to USD. I did a trip to Santa Clara. Yeah. But I think something about UCLA was like just like just like the significance of that school felt special to me. Like I went on my official visit, stayed with Marvell Wynne here and Eric Connor in the room there. And like just going to those games like on Friday nights or whatever it was, seeing all like the people from LA, it was like a big kind of spectacle, it was like, and then all the players were just all, you guys had all played really well at the U20s and it was like this big, so many professionals came from that college. And so that's where I kind of got pushed into it. And honestly, going into it, I didn't know who was staying or going with you guys. And I didn't know if I was going to be a starter or whatever. But like in my head, I kind of always knew like that was obviously my goal. Go into my freshman year, do well, got Pac-12 freshman or whatever it was, Pac-10 freshman of the year. And then, kept going. And I was at the U20 World Cup happens every 2 years. So he was born in 86. I was born in 87. So technically I was the old age group for the U20s and you were the younger age group. So he played with 85s, 86s and I was with 87s, 88s. So I was with the older age. Started getting called into the U20s. Again, kind of was like an off and on starter, like played right wing. And then about 6 months before the tournament, I think I scored like 5 goals in the NCAA tournament. We went all the way to the finals and we lose, right? But like there was a moment where I think I felt the coach, Thomas Rongden, like start to have more trust in me. Like I went from being that fringe player to like, okay, he's now like a starter, because I performed so well in the tournament. And then also right after that, I was getting, before even the U20s, I was getting called into the U23s. I don't know if you went to some kind with Bob Bradley, which was like the kind of like the precursor to like the Olympics, but we went to Japan a few times. I think we went to China once. So I got called into, I think it was just Japan, but I went to Japan with the U23s while I was still with the U20s. So it was kind of, and again, it was one of those things too, like just being in LA, kind of like like Ziggy's eyes were on you because you played in LA, and that status of being on UCLA kind of put more eyes on you. And at the time, I started getting called into those U23 camps. And then I performed really well there when I went to Japan. And this was like the team with like Sasha. There was a lot of Generation Adidas guys that were all in their rookie years, while I was still in college. So I ended up playing really well there. And I think, and Thomas Rongden was the assistant to Bob on that trip, even though he was still the U20 coach. So from there, I had a really good tournament with all the older players. So then I think it further solidified me kind of being that starter for the U20 tournament. And
so it's kind of like the opposite of me. You were kind of following your confidence. Like as you kept playing, you kept getting more confident. You went to UCLA, but you still have that boost. Like, I might not be here for the whole 4 years because I'm playing really well. Then you go to the national team spotlight, and you're just like, okay, all right.
Yeah, it was like, well, because when you're still like the younger kid, you still feel like, all right, I'm still like, I'm still the younger one against all these older kids, so I'm doing something good.
Sure.
Then get called in the U20s for the tournament. Did well in that U20s. Had some good assists to Freddie Adu against Poland. We beat Poland. We beat Brazil when they had Pato and Joe and some of these bigger name players. David Luiz, I was on the team, and then then we advance out of group. We play Uruguay in the first game. We win that game against like Cavani and Suarez. And then we ended up losing in the quarterfinals to like Austria, which was it was a failure for us because we were a good team. It was a team with like Michael Bradley, Freddie Adu, Josie Altidore, Robbie Rogers, some good backline players, Chris Seitz at goal. So Tony Beltran,
good names,
Danny
good
Satella,
players.
Dax.
Yeah.
So all
like
really,
half the team that I had.
yeah. A lot of guys that all came down to play another time because we had so many talented 87 age groups. So and from there ended up pretty much similar to you, like got interest from a lot of different teams. And I think Hanover just stood out for me. Steve Trundolo was there, another San Diego kid who kind of helped me, while I was there, but was able to go there and play there for 3 years. But to touch on like what you said about like my confidence and everything. So I was fine flying high, right? But then I get to Germany and it was like a gut punch. Like, okay, now I'm number, 25 out of 30 people. I'm trying so hard to just be on the 18-man roster for games. And when you're young, you don't think you're young. You're thinking time, you got to do it now, right? Sure. And so, I was getting called into the reserve league games, playing in like the 3rd division Germany, and having, playing well some games, not playing well other games, just being super inconsistent. I think that came later in my career where I was able to kind of, prioritize, like, doesn't matter who you're playing against, you got to bring the same consistency.
All right, so what about going to Germany was the biggest learning curve, and could there have ever been a way that you could have been prepared for it?
I think like, had I
growing up in U.S. soccer, like growing up in U.S. soccer, and then all of a sudden you're thrown into Germany. Is there any way that you could have just been like, all right, I just got to mentally prepare myself to be more physical, to close down quicker, to move quicker on the ball, to make decisions even before I get the ball?
Yeah, I think I would. Similar to you a little bit, like we relied so much on our athleticism. I was a fast player as well, just get the ball, dribble, right? And so when that kind of pieces would get taken away from me, because obviously the defending in Germany and at the highest level is much harder. And, so I was getting beat up physically a little bit. I was getting little injuries, high ankle sprain here, little things that I couldn't get, on a roll. And then, you do have to get lucky a little bit where a coach is going to give you a chance. Right. And so the coach never really kind of gave me that chance. And then, I played a little bit. I think I played in like 8 Bundesliga games overall in 2 years. And then my final year, I had a really bad knee injury that kind of, forced me to have to come back to the U.S. where, I somewhat had still of a name, where I was able to come and back and play in the MLS.
So when you went over there, did you adapt to the 6-stud game? You pretty much have to?
I did, and I hated those cleats.
Yeah, I loved my 6 studs because I'd never slip.
You liked them?
I like 6 studs.
I didn't like them.
Yeah.
No, I didn't like them.
No, you quick players,
It's funny, too, because I would like practice in them, and I would be perfectly fine. But just the idea of like those are what's under, I always felt like the ball was just going to like slip off my off the bottom of the cleat. So
that probably matters to someone like you that has what we call skill. Whereas to me, it's just kick it hard and then it gets out.
Yeah.
All right, so on your move coming back to MLS, was it? Did you have any idea where you're going to be? Did your agent do a lot of work in there for you, or did you just kind of want to go for the first offer that was available?
So coming back to the MLS was an interesting process because I had to go in a lottery, which kind of at the time, it was like a short period where this used to have to happen. It wasn't really like, oh, we're number one in the allocation process, so we get to take you. It was like, if you want to enter in the lottery to get this player, you can, right? And I think it was like, out of the 16 teams at the time or 15 teams, 3 didn't participate and the rest did. And each, depending on, I don't know if it was where you were in the standings at the time or where you were on other allocation processes, but every team had like a certain percentage to get me, right? I think Kansas City had a super high percentage, and I know Peter Vermes wanted me, but I think it was Chivas USA had the 3rd highest, and they ended up getting me.
Okay. Did you have Vermes in any of the youth
I did.
teams?
Yeah,
I did too.
He was the assistant on one of my.
Yeah, me too. Vermes, Harks.
Yeah, one of my U20 trips. I think he was an assistant. So, so got called into Chivas USA. Was still, recovering from this knee injury. I think because I was overseas, because I didn't like, the injury wasn't, kind of known or talked about all that much. The media wasn't what it was today. And so it was a pretty bad knee injury. I mean, tore my LCL and ACL and, wasn't the same agile player that I was when I left the U.S. So when I came back, Chivas was excited to have me. And they were like, you don't look like the same player. I'm like, well, I did like tear my knee up 6 months ago. So
you didn't have to disclose that.
No, they knew that, but like, people
give me a break, guys.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't really. So anyway, so it was like, I think 9 months. I started getting back on the field, got subbed into like a few of the games at the end of that first season. A terrible season. Martin Vasquez is the coach. He gets let go. Robin Fraser comes in with Greg Manny. Yeah. So he was the assistant. Ends up. I have preseason there, ends up trading me, and that's kind of sparks the whole adventure in the MLS and throughout. Yeah.
How many total teams? Did you have a favorite spot? Favorite coach?
I went from Chivas USA to Portland. I was there for 3 years. Was there for their expansion year and beyond. Had a great time. Like I love the fans. I feel like they're part of that community over there. Had a food cart over there. Really like embraced the culture. Love that fan base. Then I went to Kansas City in a trade. Was there for a year. Loved Kansas City. Like had a great time there. Got taken in the expansion draft by New York City FC. Then traded to Red Bull, which I think Red Bull was probably my most successful seasons and the season that I had the most fun, just the most significant. I mean, my wife and I had our first 2 kids in New York. I loved the coach, Jesse Marsh. I loved a lot of the teammates. We had all good, team atmosphere. It was really fun. We won Supporter Shield the first year. Yeah. Came up short in the playoffs a few times, but like overall was a successful 3 years at the club. Then was a free agent, signed with Atlanta 1 year. Didn't play much under Tata Martino. Had a meniscus injury on the right side of my knee. And I probably played like 8 games before I got injured in that one. And we won MLS Cup. So that was kind of good.
Yeah,
to win MLS Cup.
That's
didn't
good
do
thing.
much. Didn't do much, but I was able to get a ring.
You got the ring. There you go.
Yeah, and then I retired and
Twilight years out here.
yeah, and played for Loyal for 2 years. Landon Donovan hit me up and was like, "Hey, we're starting a club in San Diego." Me loving San Diego, wanted to always come back here. It was kind of like a perfect scenario transition. I felt like I had a little bit more to give in soccer, and so I was there for 2 years. Retired, and now I coach youth soccer locally for a club called Sporting San Diego out in like La Mesa, El Cajon, which actually used to be like Hotspurs merged with them.
Yeah,
so
that's
it's
wild.
kind of in that area. It's all kind of full circle, coaching my daughter in a good boys 2011 team. So yeah, that's what I'm doing now, and love that I'm still able to talk soccer and be a part of it in my favorite city and be a part of this club, really.
No, man, your experiences. I mean, this isn't the first time you've been in front of cameras or in front of a microphone either. Like, so this is not your first rodeo in this entertainment.
Yeah. No,
aspect.
I enjoy this part of it. Like yourself, I've done some, a few broadcasts. I've been able to do some media. Had a fun podcast with Benny Falheiber and Iko Para for a while, and now Benny wanted to pursue the coaching aspects, where now he's actually the coach at Oakland Roots. So. Just like to be in the space, like to talk about it. And yeah, big fan of now SDFC and excited what they're doing so far.
Glad to be here with you, man.
Yeah.
Let's come full circle.
So there you have it. That's a lot of info on us, but just want to say thank you all for listening once again. Stay with us over the course of the year because we still got a lot more coming. We'll be welcoming Kayla back soon enough, so we don't have to talk so much. This was, not the most easy thing. She normally has it all. We're going to talk about this and this, and we kind of went off everywhere. So
thanks for sticking with us. If you've made it this far.
If you're still listening.
If you're still listening.
Have a good one, guys. Thank you.
Flow with us.
Flow with us.